If I look or sound kind of exhausted right now, it's because I am. Still got another week until my schedule clears up, and I am way too damn tired to do this video right now, but this is literally the only free time I have until next weekend. So, let's just do this thing. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe this is sleep deprivation talking, but iMPACT actually pretty closely resembled a pro wrestling show this week. There were a lot of things at work here that we don't usually see. Wins and losses meaning something, making your pay-per-view look important, hyping up big matches, just simple logical stuff like that that we don't normally get on this show. I mean, we've been seeing hints of this since the rebranding started, and if this is the direction they intend to take the company in during this iMPACT Wrestling era, then I'm on board. Yeah, there are still flaws in the show. Reference Eric Young, but we're getting a lot more good stuff than we've been getting for the last year and a half. Good stuff like this Bound for Glory series. This is great. Mike Tenay summed it up perfectly. It removes all the bullshit and puts all the importance on wins and losses, and that's why I like it. For a long time, one of my biggest complaints about the booking was that it really didn't matter who won and lost matches because there was no real consequence either way, and there are countless examples of this. But with this series, that complaint goes out the window. There's no politics, there's no committee, wins and losses are the only thing that matters, and it's completely determined by points. And not only that, but the rules are structured in such a way that it encourages guys to try to win the matches clean because I think a DQ causes you to lose points or something, which means more clean finishes. This is fantastic. We've already gotten some good matches with some nice length out of this. Like here, Beer Money vs. Morgan and Crimson was really nice. Another cool touch I appreciated was that they're counting house show matches and actually showing footage of them on the show. I mean, it adds to the legitimacy of this thing, and it's a nice way to promote the live events, too. And let's face it, their live events need more promotion. For every event that I've been to, I haven't seen a single ad, not for any one of them. And that needs to change. This is a nice way to start. Something else I really liked was the X Division match. Not necessarily the match itself, but rather the presentation of it. Normally what they do is they just throw these guys out there cold and have them work a random match without really telling us anything about them. And that doesn't do anything for anybody. But here, they actually put some importance on it. They told us these guys were competing for a chance to earn a contract at Destination X in a match that already includes Austin Aries. Yay. And they showed promos from each guy where they introduced themselves and stuff. So by the time the match started, we knew who they were, why they were there, and we had some kind of sense of their characters. I mean, they actually made an effort to get these guys over before the match started, which made the match far more interesting than it would have been otherwise. The match itself was alright, but not incredible. It wasn't as good as the Austin Aries match, and these guys were clearly not as seasoned or as talented as the ones we saw last week. That Zima Ion guy wasn't bad, though. I mean, he definitely stood out the most, and he was the only one that cut a decent promo. Those other two didn't have a single drop of charisma between them, and wrestling-wise, Federico Palacios didn't really jump out at me, and Dakota Darso I didn't think was that good at all. I definitely think the right guy won, so give Zima Ion a shot at Destination X and maybe he'll impress us. But those other two guys, they can leave. I don't see any reason to give them another look at all. And the other thing I loved was the segment with AJ Daniels and Joe, and honestly, there was nothing really out of the ordinary here. But when you have a wrestler come out and say that this pay-per-view is a big deal, it's something really important to me, and I want to be a part of it, that means something. That does something to sell your pay-per-view. It's so simple, and yet a lot of the time these writers don't seem to understand that if you want people to buy your pay-per-view, you have to make it look like it's worth buying. And if we see that it's important to the wrestlers, it'll be important to us. So often do they screw this up. But this segment really made me anxious to see Destination X because you've got three guys who really care about what's going to go down there. I think the wrestlers give a shit, therefore I give a shit. And while I am a little bummed out that we're not going to get another Unbreakable three-way rematch, AJ versus Daniels and Joe versus Kaz, how is that a bad thing? Probably the last thing that really stood out to me this week was the Sting Bischoff segment. Yes, I'm completely sick and tired of the Sting Hogan Bischoff crap. I saw more of this than I ever wanted to see in WCW. It's very, very old. But I have to admit, I'm actually pretty intrigued by what they're doing with Sting right now. I really called it last week with the Joker comparison, and if you think for 1 second that's not what they're doing with him, you need your head examined. He's acting more like the Joker, even his face paint has been tweaked to look more like the Joker. And that's not a bad thing. I'm just wondering that if they were going to do this with Sting, why didn't they do it when The Dark Knight first came out 3 years ago? I don't know. But if nothing else, this is something different for Sting, which is why I like it. That and because it seems like he's actually putting effort into this. For the last few years, I really didn't care about Sting anymore, because it just seemed like he didn't care. Right now, he looks like he cares, and that makes me interested in him again. I don't necessarily want to see him wrestle anymore, but his character is probably one of the most compelling on this show right now. I just think he needs to be careful not to go overboard with it. In the segment with Hogan last week, I thought he was perfect. Here, he looked like he was trying too hard. But still, this is some cool stuff regardless. So those were some genuinely good things about this show. Put them all together, and this was not half bad. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The bad stuff was sort of minimized this week, but it was still there. A lot of it was little things. For example, Mike Tenay saying that Bobby Roode was not cleared to wrestle, and yet he's wrestling. How can he be wrestling without medical clearance? Why is Scott Steiner thinking about joining Immortal? Wasn't he brought in by Kurt Angle just a few months ago to fight Immortal? Why the hell are you even doing this? You finally got rid of the dead weight in this faction when you ditched Murphy and Rob Terry, and now you want to start adding dead weight?
You people are fools!
They had a knockout street fight with Mickie James and Winter. Duh. Angelina gets involved and attacks Mickie while the referee is distracted. Why did the referee have to be distracted? It didn't matter if he saw her. Street fights are no DQ. See what I'm talking about? It's little things like these that show that even though the product has noticeably improved recently, it's still Vince Russo writing it. Which means, periodically, we're still going to have to deal with stuff that just flat out makes no damn sense at all. The street fight was really short, and the finish was idiotic, but at least it was good up until then. At least both women were trying. That's more than I can say about 2 other women on this show. Velvet and Tessmacher come out and challenge ODB and Jackie Moore to a no-holds-barred match. So ODB and Jackie hit the ring, and these women proceed to have a match that was so bad I was almost embarrassed to be watching it. There was one spot where ODB was working over Tessmacher, then she casually walked to the other side of the ring, tagged in Jackie. Jackie then casually walked back over to Tessmacher, who, instead of trying to tag in Velvet, was just sort of walking around in a circle for some reason. Ha-ha! This was freaking terrible. And may I say, ODB and Jackie are not performing like 2 women who want contracts right now. ODB was never that good in the ring, but at least she wasn't known to half-ass it. But that's exactly what she did here. She spent more energy slapping her boobs and trash-talking than she did anything else. More disappointing was Jackie, who has been a good worker in the past, but even she looked like she was going through the motions. If I'm in their shoes and I get a second chance in one of the big 2 companies, I'm gonna bust my ass to prove I deserve it. That's not what we saw from these 2. Why did you bring these women back? Why did you try out all these great potential new talents like Serena Deeb and Jen Blake if you were just going to bring back 2 unmotivated former knockouts who clearly don't give a rat's ass anymore? I cannot stress strongly enough that the knockout division needs help, and lots of it. They need to ditch ODB and Jackie, they need to kill the asinine time-traveling lesbians gimmick, and they need some new fresh talent in there pronto, because it's just not good at all right now. So yeah, there's still plenty of dumb stuff. But at least right now, it seems like the positive outweighs the negative. The stupid crap aside, I did genuinely enjoy this show. Karen Jarrett was nowhere to be seen, we're actually getting some good wrestling again, and the hype for Destination X is starting to make me excited. And I haven't been able to say that about a TNA pay-per-view in a long time. So it seems like the product is starting to get on the right track. It remains to be seen how long this will continue, but for now, I'm cautiously optimistic. I really hope I didn't just jinx it by saying that.